So actually, I'm gonna say myself for last. Let's start with our newest person, Genesis. She is 4 days with us so far, but she's our escrow assistant.
Y'all can't see Genesis.
Come say hi. You gotta come in and say hi.
Sitting away from the camera.
She even got the logo on her shirt and everything.
Right. Yeah. Genesis, you need to be right here next to Kip. Yeah. Right there. Sit right there next to Kip. They know what I look like. They don't need to see me. Come on.
Let me tell you about Genesis. She speaks Spanish, so she'll be one of our closers that can do closings in Spanish. Good. So she's bilingual, which is good and help us out a lot. She also will be doing a lot of administration. She'll be helping Meredith directly as an escrow assistant. And anything you want to add? Talk about U of H, financial degree, all that good stuff. So we got somebody here.
Sexy stuff. Sexy.
Yeah, I went to. I'm still going to U of H. I'm supposed to graduate in a year or two. I was trying to graduate with a major in accounting, but I'm not sure now.
Yeah.
You're trying to own your title branch out there.
That's the game plan, long run, right? Long-term game plan.
So yeah.
Kept it exposed.
We're so happy to have her, and we know she's gonna do great things. So just want to introduce her to y'all, and then we'll go with Meredith, which y'all probably seen before, and I'll let her take over.
Hello, I'm Meredith. I've been in the title business for about 2 years. I'm going to be an escrow officer within the next month. That's about it.
So Meredith pretty much runs the whole company. She handles all our compliance.
I'm like Jessica. I'm trying to be behind the 24/7.
Let me tell you how lucky y'all are for them to even come out, because the camera thing, the whole podcast presentation today was not looking forward to it at all. Not at all. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Kip Edwards, and I've been in the title industry for 6 years, but I've been in real estate for like 20 years. I know I look young, but thanks to Brooks and Davis, kind of all started out at the same time. So we definitely have a whole repertoire of real estate experience. The beginning of my career, I started off with, actually I was doing mortgages. So I have insight on lending. And then I worked in new home sales. And that's when Michael and Larry we did some deals together, partnered up on some things for new homes. So I was with KB Home and Meritage Homes for about 8 years. And then after that, started working with the CoStar Group. I know, right? Started working with the CoStar Group, who owns apartments.com, LoopNet.com, Biz by Sales. So I got into commercial real estate analytics, data, statistics, whether you should buy, sell, build, high rises, apartments, anything commercial related. So in that 15-year time period, I established relationships with brokers, lenders, developers, builders, investors, all types of people who are doing real estate transactions. So the next best thing was getting to the title company, right? The title company basically takes all those people who's involved in a real estate transaction and help facilitate the real estate transaction. So we are definitely a neutral third-party middleman, making sure that everything is done correctly and legally and ethically. So that's a little bit about myself, and we'll move forward. We're going to tell you a little bit about title, the process,
click it,
and then we'll go through some more in-depth. You can click it. Yep. Click it. Some more in-depth information on what we look for as the title company. So basically, as far as a title company, like I said, we're a neutral third party. So we make sure we facilitate the transaction thoroughly. We have examiners on staff. So when I go through this process here in the next slide, we'll kind of go through it. But also I want to make sure I introduce my other locations as well. You can click it, right?
Click it.
Yep, go ahead and click it. So we have a location in the Galleria. We have a Pearland location, East Downtown on Canal Street. We have a new location in Dallas. And then the Northwest, we're still kind of filling out, but those are the franchises. But we all work, actually we have a River Oaks location. So it's gonna be on Kirby and 59.
Okay.
So that's where Meredith and Genesis will be located. Myself, Drake, and we have a new person,
Dan.
Dan, we'll all be in Pearland location. Emmanuel run our Dallas and North Side location. So we can help. We all over. So it's make it convenient for your client.
I think Margaret just facilitated one in the East downtown on Canal Street.
That's where we at right now. Yep. So that's where we all currently located, but we need to expand. So I figured we're gonna get rid of the location and kind of spread out a little bit. Next, we're gonna ask Michael to look for us. We need a warehouse, so we want to have our own space. So we're looking for a lot so we can build. I know you can.
That all day, baby. That's easy.
You can click it, right? Yeah. So we'll tell you a little bit about the title company and our responsibilities.
La me.
So title insurance is basically letting the buyer know that they're getting the property free and clear. So as far as the title company, we make sure we do all our due diligence. So when we get an order that comes in, we will let our examiners do all the research. So we put a lot of information from the county records. We pull tax certificates. We pull HOA information. We look at the property, anything that's on it, as far as the title work. So we'll do our due diligence and pulling in information. We also look at anything that the seller may have, anything that the buyer may have. So if the buyer is in bankruptcy, they can't be buying a property, right? So how are you gonna be bankrupt and buying a property?
Right.
So we make sure everything is correct. And then once we get a little bit more in depth later on, we're gonna let Meredith kind of go through a title commitment because this is the most important part of what we do. So the obligations of a title company is basically to stay neutral and make sure we facilitate the transaction ethically and legally. You can go to the next one. Oh, you already did? No, that's perfect. You got it. Okay. Perfect.
Michael, can you put it on the screen?
Oh, so
she
Lisa
can
can see. Okay. I'm sure that Lisa be able to see. All right, let's see. What's the best way to do it? If I duplicate myself.
So we going by that, we're not going by this.
No.
Not yet. We're gonna go through this. Yep. This is the more introduction kind of slides, like the whole big picture of the process.
They missing some good information.
And listen, if y'all have any questions in between time, please feel free to stop me. I'm pretty easy going. And I just want to make sure I answer all y'all questions. So let y'all know what's going on with the title company. Because I know a lot of people come to the title company like, what does the title company actually do? Like nobody knows what the title company is except for collect fees, right? But it's a lot of behind the scenes work that we do. And we just facilitate everything, right? But with the title company, we also pay everybody, right? So y'all want to make sure you're really good with your title company. You also want to make sure you have somebody from your title company in your cell phone on speed dial. Luckily with us, we're pretty friendly. So we have great relationships with the people that we work with. So I tell people all the time, you call me, I don't work 9 to 5. I work pretty much 24/7. So if Mike call me on the weekend, or if he call me at midnight, or he leave the club and call me at 2 in the morning, basically I'll probably text him back like, hey man, I'm gonna get with you in the morning, but I'll answer this question for you real quick.
And I can co-sign on it. I can verify it.
Yeah.
Whenever, the one thing about Kip, whenever it got dicey, right? I was like, even if we was dealing with everybody else, if it got dicey, I even tell Jess, hey, call Kip.
Let's get on the table and get it done. Yeah.
Right. So now I definitely use a very responsive in our business. That's so important.
Absolutely. And I tell people all the time, we in it together. So we don't get paid until the deal closes. I know y'all don't get paid until it closes, right?
That's right.
So I want to close it just as bad. And actually y'all get paid more than us. So we need to close way more transactions than just one, right? Because our percentage of a transaction is maybe 0.5, not 3%, not 6%. So we need to close 10 times as more deals as y'all close, but we in it with y'all together. Yeah. So hopefully we can close 10 deals a month together, right? So let's do it. Yeah.
Look, Lisa, you help me out. I've been in my head, like, man, I really want to be on the screen, but I don't want to mess it up right there. I was trying to figure it out. You just come here, like, put on the TV. I'm like, oh.
I got it.
I got it. I do it real quick. Yeah, gave the solution, boy.
Oh, let's see. Let's talk about the process, the home buying process. So this is a map that we go by. So say you have a client looking for a home to sell or looking for a home to buy. Okay. So y'all get the contract, right? Send it over to your title company, which is us. And we tell everybody, make sure, I always tell everybody, if you're doing a real estate transaction, you need a realtor. Like y'all know the ins and outs. And it's much easier for us. So we like working with realtors because y'all help us facilitate
Right.
everything that's going on, right? And for any advice, I say you need a real estate professional. So I always send them to Brooks and Davis. I mean, that's my go-to. They brought me into business, so
Yeah, man, we appreciate
I
that
mean,
too.
you know, we got to share and help each other out.
And that's why y'all got to do business with White
Absolutely.
Star.
So when we get the contract, if they have a lender, we simultaneously work on this at the same time. So the contract comes in, the real estate agent sends it over to us. We start doing our due diligence, doing the examination part of it, doing all the research, as well as the lender. The lender's starting to do their research, making sure this person can buy. They should already have their pre-qualification letters, and then they'll send over a title request. So at the same time, we doing our research, working on getting this commitment so we can see what's on the title, what's on the actual history of the particular property. So we're doing our due diligence at the same time, the lender working on a file. Once we get all our paperwork together and title work, we'll send it over to the lender. Usually the loan officer or the processor, the loan processor, they'll start facilitating all their documents as well. Then it comes back to us, and then we have the processors order and payoff from the seller. So the seller fill out a seller information sheet. With that seller information sheet, we're able to obtain any payoffs, any debts, anything that needs to be collected, HOA information, tax information, judgments, child support, whatever the seller owes, we're gonna put in information, right? So we order all them payoffs, collect all this information. At the same time, the lender's working on the buyer's information, getting their paperwork together. Then they'll send us a CD to balance. So then the lender has their numbers, they send it over to us. We have our numbers that we collected from the seller, the HOA, the taxes. We put together. Usually Meredith is really good at putting it together. Luckily, she has a loan officer license as well, so she's been to class. You know what's crazy?
And I did real estate class.
And she took all the real estate class. She did take tests, but it was good for her to know the whole process, right? Like she need to learn both sides.
My classes were good for like 2 years, so I still have to sit in there if I decide to do real estate career.
She might be, I know. And I tell, so we all have backgrounds in some kind of real estate form, right? Like mine was new home sales, lending, commercial real estate. Maybe it was loans, real estate. Janice is actually financial accountant, right? So we need to balance these files and send out checks. So her experience and background is going to come into play as well. So once we balance the CD, then the lender will send us paperwork. So we won't schedule a closing until we have paperwork from the lender. But sometimes they send it 2 days in advance. Sometimes they send it 2 hours in advance, right? So we got to make sure that we have all the paperwork before we can really schedule closings. And then hopefully we have all the payoffs in. So it's a lot of moving parts to this. Like we're working with surveys, appraisals, the lenders, the real estate agents, buyers, sellers, the clients, the actual owner, and the actual buyer, the home warranty company.
Payoff company.
So anything on that HUD or CD, that's who we're talking to, working with. So say it's like 20 to 30 people involved in this transaction, a lot of moving parts. We really just there to kind of make sure we communicate and put it all together in one central location.
The central hub.
That's it. I mean, that's all we really do, facilitate everything. And we also got to pay them people out, right? So when it closes, of course, everybody come, hey, I want to get paid. I want to get paid too, right. And we're working with our underwriter, we're working with our examiner, who else? Everybody. I'm working with everybody in the transaction. So once we're able to close, all the paperwork's in, we'll schedule closings. And I know for home buyers, the experience, I tell my staff, hey, it's especially first-time home buyers, it's the experience that they're looking for. Like they already went through the hardest part of getting to the table, and the last person they see is usually us, right? So we need to make sure that they experience is something that they remember, something that's remarkable for them. And we also want to make sure that we always relay the message. It's great working with you, thanks to Brooks and Davis.
Because that buyer walks in there, man, they're still skeptical.
Absolutely.
They still
all the time.
Yeah,
so we always congratulate the real estate agents, because I mean they're gonna refer, right? Y'all get paid on referrals too. That's how y'all really make y'all money. So on referrals, so we're like, hey man, how was your experience? And we ask them like, how was your experience? Anything we could have done better, because we need to know, right? Like if we don't know, we can't make the changes.
Right.
So we roll out the red carpet. Now I told him we used to have like Ozarka bottled water, and I was like, nah, we need the best one. So now we got Voss water, Voss water. And then what's so crazy?
The clients are totally different when you bring the water. Honestly.
Sometimes I don't even want water, but we bring me like, nah, you like, damn, let me have another one. You might take one home. But it's funny, just that little thing, right? Just to change them, and it's not that much of a difference in price, like 50 cents, right?
Yeah.
But they seem like, damn, y'all really rolled out the red carpet for us. Y'all making this experience greater for us.
Yeah.
So I tell them, like, you know, it's a huge decision just buying a home, right? One of the biggest ever. So let's make it something, at least, I don't know what went on before with the lender, maybe the loan was tough, but the last person they see is us, so let's make it something special for them.
Yeah.
And see, Kip, I like you said that it's a buyer, it's really a buyer's world when it comes to title.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to negotiate in my contract to tell the seller's agent, can I pick the title company? I mean, your seller just selling it. They come to sign the paper and move on or whatever the next step is. But my buyer's making this a big deal, life change. It's an extreme experience. So when I try to negotiate to use my own title company for that reason.
And we understand, because especially like since I'm coming from like the new home world, and I know most builders have their own title company, I totally get it. And I still tell them, even if you don't close with me, if you have any questions, just call me. Like, I understand, like, hey, you might not be able to, like, I know you buying a house, and if the seller's paying on the title policy, they'll probably want to use their title company, which I totally get. But if you still have some questions, like, hey, you might go to resell it, and you're going to become the seller, so I still need you to come back to me 2 or 3, 4, 5 years from now when y'all sell them their second house or third property or their investment property. So it's all about the experience for the home buyer. And even for the seller, sometimes people are emotional attached to their property that they selling. So we seen, like, I think yesterday, like, this person, we signed everything. Buyer came, brought money. Seller was halfway through signing all the documents, and they just changed their mind. I was like, I don't want to sell it.
And they had the right to do it because the contract was extended until Monday. Something went on with it, and they were going to sign yesterday and sign the extension at closing. Closing document signed, buyer brought his funds, he took pictures with the key, he was happy walking out the door, and the seller was like, no, here's the termination. I would like my earnest money released to me because the buyer didn't sign by Monday. Wow. Which it was like, everybody was off guard. The lender was like, I don't know what happened. I don't know why the seller is being unwilling.
And it's funny, because none of them, like, we pay, like, a lot of people is involved in the transaction. So we already spend funds on, termination, tax certs, and the sellers. I mean, everybody spend money. Like, they had an appraisal done, they getting a loan. So, I mean, if it don't close, it's a lot of wasted money, right?
That's horrible, because sometimes I do let them do that. Extra 2 days, but from now on, no, we sign on the deadline day.
Amendments are signed.
And it's my big thing is, I know we also put closing dates on the contracts, right? Y'all put, hey, we need to close on or before this date. And I always tell myself, oh, we need to close before this date. Like, this is the absolutely last date we can close.
Okay,
so we shoot for a close at least a week in advance. Because we know for us, it's all about the transaction. Like, we need to do numerous closings every month. And I know for y'all, hey, we need to close the deal. That's how I pay my rent and everything else for next month. And I know it's a little bit bigger for y'all. So we have to do like our goal, we need to do 30 deals, 30 transactions per month each office, right? One a day, one in the morning, one in the evening, right? And I know for y'all might want to do at least one deal a week, right? So
y'all hear that?
I know one deal a month, one deal a week.
Right. So we think about getting the transaction done cleanly, friendly, and we're pretty easy going. So I like to keep everybody in the loop, communicate. So we actually been working on it, communicating with everybody because it's a lot of moving parts. So we've been implementing some new things that we need to update everybody that's involved in the transaction at least once a week, so we know where we at, so we can hit these closing dates or even be ready to close before.
And I think what I really like about you, Kip, is that, and I've obviously had my fair share of title companies, and you know, it's inevitable that shit gonna hit the fan. Like, it's gonna happen.
It happens, right.
It's inevitable. I like the way that you handle it, right? Like, I've been with title companies, man, and things go crazy, and they get in defense mode. Like, it's like, well, they just trying to cover their tracks. And they're not really understanding, like, look, man, forget all of that.
Yeah.
Like, let's just work together and let's try
make solutions, right? Let's come up with solutions. We don't need excuses, we don't need complaints, we just need to make a solution, right? Because there's been times I messed up plenty of times. Yeah. Like, damn, I forgot to order the text.
Mortgage company.
I forgot to order the payoff. Right. And I hate putting the blame on anybody because I feel like I always hold myself accountable, right? Like, hey, This is our job.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Even if I know I'm right, but something went wrong in the transaction, I still should have been like, hey, I should have called the mortgage company like, hey, I need this right now.
Yeah.
What can I do to get it? So I mean, I take the responsibility, right? Like I don't mind taking the blame. I don't mind being the fall guy because I know usually the clients is y'all clients. Y'all been there since before y'all send the contract to us. So I still need y'all relationship with the client to be grade A because y'all the one that actually bring us the deals.
Absolutely. But I mean, you know, I don't know if I've ever formally said it, but man, as a real estate professional, we appreciate that because when it's the 9th hour, like we don't care whose fault it was.
Yeah,
like, it's everybody's problem. Like,
right.
It's all about problem.
Right.
So let's get it done. Let's figure it out. Don't go, you know, sometimes it could be the mortgage company, it could be the title company that I've worked with in the past. They like tuck and run. So now they ain't answering the phone. Bro, like
we gonna do the same thing now. I'm like, damn, we're trying to schedule the closing with the buyer. They don't want to come in no more. Like, what's going on? So then next time, hey, we need to drive by their house. Hey, where the realtor live? I'm going by the realtor's house because they forgot to send us this amendment, or it could be anything. Let's have good relationships, and as long as we stay in communication, everybody knows there's no surprises, right? Like let's handle it way before time, before we get to closing day, and then all of a sudden I need this.
Yeah.
Like man, we should have did that a long time ago. We're waiting on like we follow the same process every time, every transaction. There's no way we should miss anything, or there's no way we should be waiting on anything. Sometimes some people do take longer getting us the payoffs, right? Like, yeah, we can't close today because we're still waiting on the previous mortgage company to send over information. There's only so much we can control, but we do our due diligence and trying to get everything done quickly so we won't have to wait till the last day. Like, man, the HRA still haven't came in. What can we do? Hey, let's call them again. Let's email them. Maybe call somebody else. So it's been plenty of times, even though we might be making, say, $100 on the deal, but maybe probably spending like $3,000 trying to get this $100, right? And sometimes it happens. Sometimes we're like, hey, man, just overnight FedEx, send them whatever they need to send so we can get this information that we need. Like, hey, it's a long-term relationship, right? Like, she look at me like, can we spend $2,000 to make $100? I'm like, sometimes it'll take, but they don't know. Like, Mike might bring me this commercial deal that's gonna make me $10 million, right?
Oh, we'll cover it.
I'm quick to say cover because I'd rather get on to the next deal. Hey, let's make everybody happy because the next deal might be better, right?
Activity is what we need.
Yeah. There's always opportunity. Every transaction we have opportunity to meet somebody new, right? Yeah. So I know y'all bring us deals and we have a good relationship, but the other realtor that y'all working with on the other side, we still need to make a good impression on them. Absolutely. And it also reflects on y'all bring us there like, okay, they picked a good title company. Cool, I'm gonna work with them again. I want to work with Brooks and Davis again, the realtors at Brooks and Davis, the agents, and we'll keep growing. So it's a process, definitely a process. But as long as you stay in communication, keep everybody happy. I'm a pretty friendly guy. Like I always tell everybody, like, man, if you don't like working with me, like you just don't like working with people. All right. Right, and that's everywhere we go. Like we'll go different places. Like, man, you a cool, friendly guy. They don't know I'll be super stressed sometimes, but
it don't show.
Right. You can't let it show. It's still like we gotta keep going, right? Yeah. So see, to finish up the process, I'm almost done. Let me see. Closing table. So after we sign everything, the title company still have a lot more work to do. So after we sign everything, we'll gather the paperwork, send it back to the lender to review. Once they approve it, that's when we'll start dispersing funds. So they'll give us authorization saying like, hey, everything looks good. You gotta miss any signatures, gotta miss any dates, initials, everything's up to par. So they will send us the funds saying, hey, y'all can authorize to disperse the funds. And then we'll go back through the file, make sure all the numbers match up again, everything on the hood, all the accounting stuff looks good. Then we'll start sending out the disbursements. And then technically that's when it's closed once we send out that first disbursement. Send out checks, send out wires. Oh, for real, so I need y'all to have y'all CDAs to us before we close, before we get that closing paperwork.
Honestly, if you don't think a price change is gonna happen, you should get it when you sign the contract. So the title company already has it because you may miss that chance to have your check printed directly to you. Yeah. And I don't know what the process is with Brooks and Davis, but
Lucky they pretty good. I think Jessica does the CDAs, right? Who does CDAs?
I look at them and I'm like, just go ahead and sign.
So luckily y'all really good, but like for Texas Department of Insurance, they do not like us making any changes after it closes. Yeah, especially with the hood. It's like, why is this person getting paid and why are they getting paid this amount? Yeah.
Well,
So
I mean, our thing is that if the CDA is not in enough time and y'all can't cut the check,
it's coming to the, yeah, and then y'all can separate it from there.
Facilitate,
Yeah,
and then they gotta wait.
yeah.
But I'm on the realtor side, so if y'all can get us that, you don't have to wait. We get paid, and we send out wires for free. So as soon as the deal closes, we don't mind wiring your commission to you right then.
Wow.
Yeah. Because we rather, like, when the deal closes, everything needs to be done. Like, I mean, we need to balance out the zero in our escrow account, so we don't mind getting everything out. Once we close, everything needs to go out within 24 hours. Also, we'll start recording the deeds, transferring everything over legally. We do everything electronically. In most counties, some counties like Orange County, we still have to physically kind of take them the deed.
Is that right?
Warden County, it's some other counties there, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's a few that we can't do everything.
What are we doing, Orange?
Right. And then we'll record everything closed. Everybody happy. Move on to the next one, right? Yep. What else we got, Meredith?
I'm sending this commitment to Jessica to send to the people on Zoom.
Okay.
Is it Brooks or Brooke and Davis?
Brooks, B-R-O-O-K.
Okay, he didn't put an S. She didn't put an S. I mean, I just wanted to confirm.
She threw you under the bus, Jim. Man, coming in here throwing you under the bus.
So that's it with the process. Let's see what the next slide is.
I have a question. So when you first get the earnest money, I know that we have an option period. So you actually wait till after the option period done to start anything?
No.
Okay.
So let me tell you, we might start before we even get the contract, right? Because
yeah, we give you a heads
usually
up.
our examination takes about 5 to 7 days to get this title commitment back, which we're about to go over in a little bit. Because with this title commitment, it lets us know what's on the property. If the seller is the correct seller, right, they can sell the property. And it lets us know if the buyer has any discrepancies from buying this property. So as soon as you have an address, like, hey, we about to buy this property, or even when you have a listing, listings is easy, right? Like you the seller, so you represent the seller with listings, you can start sending us before time, hey, I got this listing kit, let's start doing the background search. Because you want to know, you might be listing this property, but you might be listing it for the wrong seller, right? You like, well, this person said they own the property.
Y'all do that before.
Yeah, I think we should do. I think it's in our best interest, right? I'd rather stay ahead of the game than
We
playing
would
catch
like
up.
you to have already signed a listing agreement, just because there is costs that go into that. So if y'all don't close with us,
Yeah.
we're losing out.
And let me tell you about title, like,
Right.
it does cost us, like, every time we open a file, it's roughly like $200, right?
It costs, right.
Because we have to pay the examination,
Mhm.
we also pay for like the tax search, so there's fees associated just by opening the file. So we can't just be open like everything if we
Right,
know
but
like,
once we sign the listing agreement,
Mhm.
I think,
Yeah.
because you know, like, hey, let's go ahead and go,
I mean, your
yeah.
seller's gonna
Sitting
sell the
on over.
property eventually.
And we can help
Yeah,
you
that should be
like
good.
promote it, right? We have, I mean,
We have a
we
good
use
list of
social media,
buyers,
but it's
too.
not like we use like, I have a big following, but we have enough that we can probably get a buyer for you.
put it in front of some.
Yeah, so we'll be like, hey, this new listing by
Yeah.
Brooks and Davis, and we'll blast it out for you. So
That's what I'm talking
say open houses, I mean, we'll get people to your open house if you need to. Luckily we work with, I mean, a middleman, right? We work with buyers, sellers, investors, everybody. So
about.
it's possible we might have some buyers for you.
Let's
So
go. I like
always
buyers.
when you have, yep. And then,
All right, we got that. We recording this.
I know, right? So we can definitely help out, get some people to your house, at least get some looks at the listing that you have. So sending on over, we'll start working on the process, getting everything open, looking at the taxes. And we can also do the net sheets for y'all, for the sellers, right? Like, hey, how much am I really getting back? So, you know, of course, we need that some of that information. Hey, how much you currently owe on your mortgage? Do you owe anything else?
That's good. I shy away from the next sheet as much as possible. Because, you know, they hold you to it. So,
Well,
Well, we always put
okay,
big on
y'all
that
call
preliminary
Kip,
draft. Yeah.
I didn't say that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, some people want to know their numbers, so we'll put it
You want to have a
together.
general idea.
Yeah,
But
and
it's
we don't have
usually
like a fee
the same.
sheet, so we actually gonna give you a whole preliminary hood, like, to kind of also make the sellers and buyers look at like, oh, this is the numbers I need to be looking at, this is what it was at first, this is what it is now. So we'll
But
put
I'm
together a
prepared. If you
whole.
can't steer clear, because the numbers may change and.
And
then
they
your
probably will
client's looking
change. They
like,
know
oh,
may
this
change. They
isn't
probably
what you
will
said
change.
earlier.
Yeah.
Like, don't offer.
No matter how many
If
times
they-
you say
if they
how many
actually
times
really want, we
you
can
say
do it for you.
estimate, they hold
Yes.
you to it. Right. But I like that you start immediately, because I had a deal that was an airship and it took 2 extra months because they found out one of the trustees' name was different.
Mhm.
And so we had to wait on the driver's license, wait on them to do all of that process. It took 2 extra months, and we had already been under contract for 6 months getting the property prepared.
Right.
So by the time we were doing the 6-month preparation, we could have been doing the title as well
Yeah.
and getting that together.
No,
So that was great.
being proactive as it relates to that standpoint with the title company, because the common thought in our industry is, oh, once you get it under contract, then you give it to the title company. Like nobody's really saying, hey, look, once you get the listing agreement, if
That's what you need to come with it, absolutely.
go ahead and
Yeah.
send it in.
So we can put them things before, right? Say if you do have to do an affidavit, if we need wills, if we need death certificates, if we need marriage license. I mean, all kind of stuff pop up on this commitment. So let me tell you, we hold our fingers crossed, like, hey, we're about to open water. But they saying, like, please be clean. Please don't have to do any extra or any legal work that's involved. Luckily, we do work with 3 good legal attorneys, real estate attorneys, who help us with legal advice, ways to kind of clear it up and satisfy some of this.
Documents for you if you need or for your client.
Good,
Yeah.
And then they ended up having, I think,
Mhm.
student
Power
loans and child
attorneys,
support too.
everything.
So then we had to
Man,
like,
let me tell
take
you,
the people
everybody-
off that we were waiting on the
seen some
application
stuff.
for.
We have seen everything. Like we have done deals with like 20 different errors. Like they
You
just
got it
never did
closed?
it. And
That's
And then they're all getting like
They-
16,
they already got like $20
$24.
and be fighting over like $10, right? Like,
right.
I mean, y'all just got the property, but I mean, we have seen so much.
Wow.
So it's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. People think the title company just charging these fees, but really
I
our
know
fees
better.
are very
I know
minimal.
better.
Yeah. But it's giving them the peace of mind. It is insurance, right? Like if you buy a property, I definitely recommend you going through a title company. I know sometimes we might go to the tax office, oh, I'm buy this property. You think you paid the back taxes, but you don't know all this other stuff that's still on this property. Like they might owe the mortgage, they might have had an HOA, they might have had some nuisance liens, some city liens. This is all different stuff they would look at. So moving forward, the most important thing for us is definitely the title commitment.
Oh, now you did have another slide. I just need to click it twice.
Oh, that's it's like a little commercial.
Oh, it's supposed to play?
It will, yeah, it's supposed to play, but you can skip that one. The other one's probably just questions. Yeah. So when we open the file, get everything ready, the thing that we wait on is what we call a title commitment. And I'm gonna let Mary kind of go through it because she look at title commitments all day. I kind of do business development and assist her.
Say that ain't your thing.
Yeah, not as much, but I'm learning a little bit more as we go.
I sent it to the agents.
Okay.
Oh, you got it on there? Okay.
So Jessica sent y'all a copy, maybe in your email, of the title commitment, so y'all can look at it as I go over it.
And there's 4 parts to the title commitment, so it's scheduled A through D. So
Yeah.
A, B, C, D.
Also, I think there is something in the contract that says if the buyer does not get the title commitment within 27 days of the executed contract, they can terminate. So you do want to make sure your title company, if you're not using White Star, because we will send it to you, but they send it to you so you can present it to the buyer.
Let me
And
jump in
usually-
there real quick.
Mhm.
And look, if y'all have questions or anything, make sure y'all put it in the comments. We have the comments open, and we can address those questions. So I just want to let them know that.
Perfect. So I was about to say something on, the title commitment. So when we get a contract, we'll send out a welcome email. And usually in that welcome email is gonna have the kind of like the process, who's gonna be your escrow officer. It's gonna have a seller info sheet. You might have a buyer info sheet or just
No,
seller.
just normally the seller information sheet and then wire instructions in case your client wants to wire their earnest money.
And then it lets you know like, hey, we should be expecting a commitment back. If it's clean, 5 to 7 days. If it's a little more work that's involved, it might take a little bit longer because there's more research that we have to do on our end. But once we get this commitment back, it states some of the stuff. We'll start off with the schedule 8.
All right, well, I guess I'll just start at the top. So it just shows our GF number and then the day we got the commitment. So we need to have these within a month of the closing date or it's technically not valid. And we also need to bring the date within 2 days before closing in case the client's got any other liens in their name that we just didn't see within the month.
Yeah.
We
Or
will
so
be
they
ready for
created some new
closing.
ones within the 30 days before we pull this thing. We need to make sure everything's updated because the title company is taking their responsibility and liability that the buyer is getting this property free and clear.
So the top where it says owner's policy of title insurance, that actually shows the buyer's name and how much their policy amount is, which is what they're purchasing the property for. And then if you go down to C, this talks about the lender's title policy because they also buy a policy. It's normally only $100. And it's proposed for the amount of the loan rather than the sales price. And then it has all the lender's information. And then if you go down to bullet point 3, that is who title is vested in. So sometimes this could say, it could say a name and then say subject to requirements. That normally means we need to do an airship affidavit or figure out some warranty deeds. There's some kind of mix up in title that we're gonna have to figure out if it says subject to requirements.
Correct, because sometimes I say the estate of whatever person is deceased, because we inherit the property and they didn't technically have a will. So it's important to have wills, right? To make sure you have a will in place. Otherwise, you could lose this property based on not having this in place. So I know in our community, we just don't do wills for some reason.
Attorneys, because we don't trust attorneys. Because historically, attorneys ain't never worked out.
Right.
We don't trust doctors, attorneys, because in the past,
Yeah.
it wasn't good to trust the doctor. and
But
attorney.
being in the real estate industry and the title industry, it's so important to have a will in place. So I say everybody, if you can write something down,
Put
get
it
it
in a safety
notarized,
deposit box,
absolutely,
have it just sitting there, you should have one.
absolutely, yep.
So the next item is legal description. So here at the title company, we almost always go by the legal description. We do look at the property address, but the main thing is the legal description.
And for my realtors, I know that y'all write these contracts. I still recommend that y'all might look on HCAD, right, to confirm that the address and the HCAD and the seller and the names. Yeah, you want to
Yes.
make it match up.
So we recently had something happen. So if you get a client and they send you an offer on a TREC contract, I would even look at that TREC contract and double check the legal description to match the property address. Because we recently had a realtor who drafted a contract and had the wrong legal description. The other realtor didn't notice, and we closed and did the deal.
And the buyer went out there thinking like, oh, I'm about to start building on
He
my
started
property.
clearing off a wrong property that was not his.
Completely
It was
wrong
the
property.
lot next to that one that was his, because they mixed up the legal description. Luckily, the buyer was happy with the property next to it, and he was like, okay, I bought this one,
I
I'm gonna
moved
take
on
this
one.
one.
But it did spend money on getting this lot
Yes.
cleared off. So we always double check, and that's how we kind of like, okay, this is the property that we have, and the buyer just actually looked at the wrong lot and thought it was something different.
Wow.
And then both the realtors happened to miss it as well, so I'm just saying,
Everybody
very
missed
accurate.
it.
Everybody missed it, I mean,
Yep.
we
Yeah.
just happened to sell the right lot that the real seller owned.
So the
Yeah.
Schedule A is the basic information, the stuff that we get from the contract, and it's basically gonna give us a legal description and has interest in the property, vested interest in the property. And then Schedule B would have any exceptions from the coverage. So say for instance, if it's a cash deal and y'all don't give us a survey, or we don't want to cover the or not us, if no survey was ordered, we can put exceptions saying we'll cover the titles or we won't cover the survey. But if you do have a survey, then we can include that in your title policy, so to cover the survey as well. Usually it'll have the deed restrictions from the particular property. Any HOA information sometimes will be on there as well.
It should also have the plat records if they added any new buildings or any kind of structures or
Yeah.
sites. It'll have what year it was replatted.
Yeah.
So you can make sure you're looking at the final plats.
But by far, the most important thing on this title commitment is definitely the Schedule C.
Schedule C, baby.
I'll let you take over, it's your specialty.
Okay, so the Schedule C is gonna show us any liens or anything we're gonna have to clear off for stopping title from being clear.
And it could be
It could
anything.
be something on the seller, it could be something on the buyer, it could be something on the previous seller. It could be something on a seller from 3 years ago that they just never cleared off.
Correct. So just because you transfer on the property, say somebody say, oh, I will child support, I'm gonna put the property in your name, and then you sell it for me. Just because you put it in somebody else's name, it still stays with the property. So if it was on there, it's gonna stay on there. Just because somebody say, oh, they transfer it through a warranty deed, it doesn't mean that it goes away. Any liens, judgments, taxes, HOAs, it stays with the property. Even if the person has another property, it could be on both properties. So we look at the Schedule C like thoroughly, because we need to clear up all these conditions, and it also lets us know like if there's any mortgages on the property, if there's any other judgments, any encumbrances that's with the title. So we have to clear up all these items before we can close on the property and issue a title policy.
Yep, and if a lot of things pop up being same name. So let's say Sam Cook is the name on the commitment and we put in that as the seller, there could be about 20 to 25 liens that pop up just because they're the same name. So we have to look at the seller information sheet. We have to look at the client's social security number, their date of birth, their first and last names to actually go through these liens individually and be like, okay, this one's not his, this one's not his.
Yeah.
Oh, this social
Like I was
security
talking about
number
earlier, like
looks pretty
Davis is
similar.
like Michael Davis, it might be like 20 Michael Davises, right?
We are in this world.
So we'll try to clear up as much as we can before we get to that point where it's like, okay, these stuff definitely got to be his or hers. So Mary luckily does a good job of clearing a lot of stuff up. And we work with our current exam. We have two examiners. One is Westcore, and then the other one is Records Online. Luckily, Westcore is also our underwriter. So if they're doing the exam, they're gonna cover anything that happens, right? They did the exam, we did. So we outsource everything to minimize our risk in litigation. So if something does come up, we have to file a claim. Luckily, Westcore did the examination, and they also issued in a policy, which is kind of a good perk for us. And they're gonna do their due diligence of making sure everything is free and clear. But sometimes they make mistakes.
Yeah,
But
and,
they have to pay
and
for
the
it.
cost for the insurance policy is pretty much standard across the state.
Absolutely. So with Texas Department of Insurance, all title companies have the same price as far as the policy. And I tell y'all, go look on just Google Texas Title Policy Calculator. Frontier Title has a good calculator online. I mean, I use it if I'm out and about and Michael calling like, hey, Kip, how much is the policy on this property? Now,
Frontier Title.
I just Google Texas Title Policy Calculator, and it's all the same price whether you use our title company or somebody else. So the title policy amount is based on the sales price. And then we don't really charge junk fees. So the fees that we have, we'll have the policy, we'll have escrow fees, which are for us is at our locations, it's $450 on each side, which is probably competitive in the market. And then we have the recording fee, which is based on the documents as well. And then we have a courier fee if you have to use like FedEx or something of that nature. Actually, for us here locally, if it's in the Houston area, we don't charge any mobile notary. We don't. My office don't. I can't say every White Star Title office does it. We don't, because I'm really good friends with the people that we're doing business with, right? So if they can make it to the office, luckily we have enough staff, then we'll try to work out. If for some reason that y'all don't give me enough notice, and like I tell them I at least need 48-hour notice, that way I can arrange the schedule. If y'all like, hey, we're supposed to close today, hey, Kip, I need a mobile notary. Man, I'm gonna have to find somebody, right? And then if it's not in the Houston area, then we do charge a mobile notary. But luckily, like Meredith found a company that does remote online notaries, which is way cheaper than a mobile notary.
Wow.
Yes.
And they don't have to leave their home.
If the lender accepts it, it's great. They get on Zoom, they verify with their ID, and then I'm not sure exactly how it happens, but I guess the remote online notary just electrically signs all the documents. And then it only takes about 15, 20 minutes.
Is it $50?
$50 on some $125. It just depends on. Sometimes they count signatures, and then sometimes if I'm like, oh, it's a refi or just a purchase buyer side, they'll be like, oh, it's $125 flat.
Oh, that's what's up.
And then luckily everybody in our office has a notary stamp. So
So we
if
all-
for some reason like, hey, I need you to go do this. And luckily she speaks Spanish. So if you have some Spanish speaking only clients,
Yeah.
then we can send them out there. She can translate, close everything, stamp it, and bring it back.
Genesis on
Yep. And then so since we all have stamps, I mean, luckily we have Drake as well. He does a lot of mobile notary stuff for us. Like, hey, I need you to go close the deal, wherever. Then he'll go close and bring it back. So I mean,
So
for
you
y'all,
got that
it's
covered.
kind of mobile notice complimenting in Houston area. If it's a little further out, then we have to make some arrangements. Then usually we charge them between $100 and $200 depending on the company that we use.
Yes. All right, back to the schedule C. Okay, so 1 through 4 are always going to be the same. They are just always there. So really what the important stuff is always going to start at number 5. What I told my assistants during training, just to get them started, when you're looking at the schedule C, anything with a number is probably going to need to get cleared. Anything with a number. So that would be 5, 6, and 7. So number 5 is a deed of trust, which a deed of trust normally goes with a mortgage. So I would assume they got a mortgage in 2019 for $222,000. And then we would have them fill out the seller information sheet so we could obtain that payoff. The next item says we need a release or a transfer of lien because they have a note in the amount of $12,233. I actually know what this one is. That's down payment assistance for when they bought their house in 2019 for the above mortgage. So we'll need to get that paid off too. The next thing is a financing statement. So it doesn't exactly say how much it is, but it has a recording number, which means they recorded a document because she owes something to this party, Aqua Finance. So we actually had to get a payoff for that as well. And then once we pay it off, they provide us with a release and we record the release and it'll be removed off the commitment. This one actually was a little bit more complicated, but I cleared it. So there was a $2 million lien on this property that has a mortgage for $200,000.
Oh my.
So it definitely didn't add up. We had to print out the document and look at it a few times. And I looked at it and I looked at it and I looked at it and I couldn't figure out what it was. So then I go to the exhibit A on the document and I realize it is a lien across lots 1 through 20, lots 25 through 37, blocks 26, 27, 28. Literally the whole subdivision had a $2 million lien on it because it seemed like somebody went to purchase the land for the subdivision and got foreclosed on 2 years later.
Oh, wow.
The company I kept searching that got the lien went bankrupt. There were bankrupt court documents on Google.
Wow.
So I actually got that cleared. I reached out to multiple people, and I had to reach out to the previous title company where she bought the house in 2019, and they actually helped me get this release of lien, and we got that item cleared off the title commitment.
Wow.
But that was something I'd never seen before. They literally had a lien across the whole subdivision. And then everything else on here is pretty normal. It just goes with our title documents. So number A would say we need marital status of the record on owner. That is actually a document we have them sign at closing, verifying if they were married when they had the property. We need proof that the homeowners association dues and assessments are paid. So we will pay those at closing if anything is due. The affidavit to debts and liens is signed by the seller saying that they don't have any liens on the property, and if they did, we will be paying it at closing. Let's see the next page.
Just our disclosures, stuff that we need to sign at closing, it's like
All disclosures.
pretty much title paperwork and disclosures. But I recommend anytime we do get the commitment back and we send it out to you, to the agents, if y'all have any questions about it, call us. I mean, we don't mind going through with you because y'all might be able to help us get some of this stuff cleared,
Let me
right?
jump in here on this one.
Don't call you broke.
You get, first of all, you need to be giving us the title commitment. You need to be looking at the title commitment before you do anything else. Yeah, and if you don't go to no other page on there, you definitely need to go to Schedule C. All right.
And hey, right, you need to make sure there's vested,
yes,
you
yes,
represent
yes,
sellers.
yes.
That's right.
And the legal descriptions, right?
All right, make sure that's
And
right.
then after that, we go to
That's
Schedule C.
Hey, look, that's new. I ain't never did that. I would just go to C. But now, Kim, see, we all learn, right? So now you need to go to Schedule A and you need to go to Schedule C.
Right.
Make sure you do that because you do not want any surprises. The last thing you want is the buyer ready to go and you can't close because of something on the title commitment.
Yeah.
So now you got the seller and the buyer and C trying to figure this out and you in the middle. You don't want that.
Right.
So you get the Schedule C, you get the title commitment more than enough time prior to the mortgage docs and all that other stuff is ready to go.
Yeah.
So if you got some stuff, we can start working on it now. But also, before you jump in there, but also something that KIP allows, I don't know about other title companies, when you get the listing agreement signed, I would go ahead and send that to you. So now, but y'all still don't order the title the commitment until y'all get the contract, right?
No, we can order it if you give us the listing agreement and ask us to. We can order it, especially if there's anything on the
Like
seller's
we
name,
put,
like these
yeah, we have
payoffs.
something
This would
questionable,
have been a
please
good
let us
one.
get it before,
Yes.
right? So we clear it way before time.
Yeah, so that means you're gonna get it even earlier. So as soon as you get this is a very important document and you need to do it. It's something that early in my career I didn't do this stuff and it would bust my deals out. So definitely do that stuff.
And if you happen to receive it and don't understand it, just send an email and say, hey, is this clean? I can't tell if there's anything on it.
And we'll highlight, like,
I
if
mean,
something that we need to clear up.
I
We'll
normally
highlight it,
copy and
or
paste
we'll
it
cut
too,
and
and
paste the
just
ones
send
that we
them
need.
over.
So y'all sending this to us as an FYI, but there's not anything we need to actively do. Just kind of, don't even say, we don't even discuss this with our client. Y'all gonna discuss it.
Unless there's some
No.
stuff on there, right?
So if say this one that's number 5. Oh yeah, number
Okay.
5.
So,
So do I need to about
So that's that
this,
same
right?
info sheet that we
Okay.
sending over to you, have them fill out with their current mortgage, because that's a mortgage, right? We need to order the payoff.
yes.
So we'll need like their loan number, their names,
Clients are
IDs.
normally well of the
So we
mortgage.
just give them a
and you
heads
don't
up,
have to
hey, did you
mention
see
it.
that Schedule C? There's some things on there you might want to take
And
a
I
look
probably
at.
would
The
skip
title company
everything.
gonna give you a
Yeah.
I was
call.
cut and paste like,
I would would just
5 through whatever.
5
that-
through 7.
Yeah,
So
what's on
5
there?
through 7.
But
Hey, these
I
stuff we
would
need to fill
assume
before
she
we
knew
can
what 5 and 6 were because one is her mortgage, which they know they got a mortgage a couple years ago, and they know they got down payments assistance. So they know what that is. So I would go to the client and be like, hey, there's this thing that says Aqua Finance in your name because it doesn't say exactly what it is, and that could be just someone with the same name.
Yes.
Her name's not very common,
No,
but
it's not.
it could be. But, so anything like this, I would go, not really a mortgage, ask your client about, but anything besides a mortgage, I would say, hey, do you recognize this? Is
Just
this
give them a heads
yours?
up, okay.
Yes. A lot of things would be like mechanic liens, they get work on their house,
Like
or,
nuisance lien, not cutting the grass, especially if it's vacant or.
and then they don't realize they got
Distressed
those and they're
property.
just under their
Right.
name.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that is my social security number. And then
Yep.
we get those paid. The Schedule D at the back kind of tells you, discloses the title policy. So 90% of the time, the owner policy is going to be way higher and the lender's policy is going to be $100. And then all the endorsements are also on the lender's policy side. So it discloses how much it is going to be to the sales price that is going to be on the front of the on the front of this commitment. These policies amounts are based on that. So if you do a price amendment change, I would not go back and look at the Schedule D of the old commitment because the policy
It
now may
changes,
change.
right? Yeah. Any of the
It's
loan
gonna be
amount could
based on
change,
your
so sometimes the loan
sales
changes
price.
2 or 3 days before when they send out the disclosure or the notice, a
Yeah.
3-day notice. So the commitment would change also, right? So if the price changes, the commitment would change a little bit based on the policy amount. But the commitment tells you pretty much everything: names, legal descriptions, anything that could cause any issues of issuing a policy, and then it also discloses the policy amount and who's going to issue it. So as you see, West Core is our underwriter, then it's going through White Star Title, and then the officers and directors of the company. Now you make the list. But if you ever have any like legal real estate questions, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll try to find an answer for you. If we don't know it, then we'll reach out to our attorneys. Luckily, we get to use our underwriter. They have an attorney that we utilize, which is really, really nice. She's located here in Pearland. So if you have any questions like, hey, what's going on with this? Any real estate legal questions, then we can get an answer. And we also use another outside party. There's Stevens, Reed, and Armstrong. So they help us get some stuff cleared. They do affidavit actions, power of attorneys, usually really quick. So that's pretty much the ones we use.
Yep.
Yeah, we got
I guess
definitely
if
have it covered.
ever have a client that's like, oh, well, I'm about to get ready to sell my property, but I think I'm gonna need an airship affidavit. You could reach out to us. We could get you directly in contact with our attorney so y'all can start preparing them documents before you even start looking for a buyer. So it doesn't extend the process.
Yeah, and the buyers might look at this community or the buyer's agent might be like, hey, there's a whole bunch of stuff on here. So we can get it cleared up before you have a buyer. Then it looks a little bit easier for the buyer. They feel more like at ease, like, oh yeah, everything looks good. Come on, let's. We can't close with this and all this other stuff. So hopefully, like as soon as you get the listing, you gotta send it over to us, we can get everything started.
And don't be scared of the title commitment. Like just what Meredith said early in my career, man, I go to the Schedule C and wouldn't understand nothing on it. And then I would just call the title company and be like, hey, what is this stuff? Like, do I need to do anything with this? And they'd be like, nope, we got it. We can put a case with the client. Don't worry about it. I'm like, all right, thanks.
And feel free if you have questions about anything. Like, I mean, luckily we have a wealth of knowledge, so we can try to get some answers for you. I tell people every time I might not know the answer, and I've been in real estate for a little while, but I'll call Mike quick. Hey, Mike, what do you think about this? Can we do this? Did y'all sell this?
And I may not know the answer.
Right. But look, we got resources. Absolutely, we'll find it for you. So,
good. All right. Well, anybody on Zoom, y'all have any questions that y'all want to Kip or Meredith or myself? Genesis, even though she only been here 4 days, she may know some stuff.
Right. And I leave my cards and everything with you too. I'll leave you a few cards, so y'all just have some. Yeah. And we brought y'all some gifts, so when y'all do come into the office,
show the gifts.
No, they can't
We're gonna show the gifts to them. Y'all, hey, look, y'all get them at orientation. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, look what you missed.
And the food, y'all
And the
missing the food.
Y'all missed the food too.
This is cute.
Look at
Okay, look,
So you know,
that
let me
thing looks
tell you.
like it tastes
fancy,
funny.
good. These will not be here for
Let me
now.
tell you, so
Take the 4 of them.
when the winter storm came, right? You know, we got surprised. So I was like, man, we don't have a flashlight. We don't have these strobe
Right.
lights. So the thing has to have like a safety strobe light,
A window.
a window cutter. So in case you do get stuck in this busted window, it's got a seat belt cutter. So it's just something to keep it, definitely keep it your.
Go ahead and get mine.
That's all right. For the people who came in.
Go ahead and get mine.
So I thought it was super cool.
Yeah, that is useful.
If y'all ever need, like, if y'all ever want to do some first time home buyer seminars or anything, please invite us and we'll do the title portion of it.
Okay.
So let's
Yeah,
see, let's work together. So if you want to do a private one, or I know y'all do stuff all the time,
We do.
and we need to do some stuff all the time too.
Let's
So
go.
man, let's utilize each other.
We definitely want to, these kind of conversations where we bring a lender, a title, inspector, we definitely want to do these once a quarter.
Absolutely.
So we at least got that going on. I know Jess and Margaret are working on bringing something back together, like a kind of pseudo pre-home buyer piece.
Yep.
We were talking yesterday. I don't know, Jess, we might consider bringing a title partner into it. We'll be doing it once a month. We already said we're gonna bring the mortgage person in. But that's a
Let me know. I mean, we open,
opportunity.
Yeah. So whatever y'all need, we're here for you. Y'all got our phone numbers, emails. You need anything, just let us know.
Tanya say no questions. Thanks for sharing the information. Giving y'all some love. All right, so y'all got y'all title company now.
Yep.
Star title.
I appreciate the detail, the attention to detail.
Good.
Yeah.
And just for y'all, I just say Kit really is awesome. He closed on my house. So.
You were super easy though. Yeah, I think we messed up a few times, so thank you.
We use Kip. It's not about people not making mistakes. Like that's gonna happen. It's
Right.
about how do they handle it when the mistake happens. And when you get people like Kip that if the mistake happens, they own it, they're always solution oriented, like that's what you want in a real estate transaction. Because there's too many people involved.
Right. So something's gonna pop up, right?
You need somebody that's gonna be like, hey, I get
And
it.
we'll just get it done. Yeah.
That's what you need. So, and I've done a bunch of transactions with Kip, and I keep going back. Kip has been, I don't know how many different title companies Kip has
Man,
been
exactly.
through.
I tell it's not the name of the title company, it's definitely the people that you work with, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely a relationship that you have with the people that you work with.
And I didn't follow him. Wherever Kip went,
Yeah.
we went with him. So, I know he take care of it. He gonna take care of that part.
Luckily, this one's not going anywhere. It's ours, right? So,
Yeah. That ain't going nowhere.
not this time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now he the boss.
Yeah.
So now I can really lean on him.
I know.
Hey, I know you can. You the boss. You can't put this on nobody else.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right, man. Well,
I
that's
appreciate
pretty
it,
much
yeah.
it, man. We're
Man,
going
y'all
to
eat up?
Y'all eat too, man.
We do.
Break bread together.
Oh, you
And
know.
then the Zooms, well, y'all didn't come in, so y'all can't eat. So we'll see y'all later.
Next time.
All right, y'all have a good time. If y'all have any questions, anything, y'all need me, y'all know how to find me, and we'll go from there. So we'll see y'all next week at the next week of trainings. We got Meet the Broker. If you know anybody that's thinking about getting into real estate, we're gonna be doing Meet the Broker today at 5:00, and we got a concealed handgun license class this weekend, and then we'll have another great week of events next week. So y'all be on the lookout. Y'all enjoy y'all Thursday. We'll talk to you later. Let's see. Let's get some grub in our
You
life.
covered everything I would have had questions on.
Yeah, good.
Especially in the beginning of real estate.